Hey Chip, good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning, 5 minutes past midnight. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Hey Pipe Wondering, how you doing? Hope you're all having a good weekend. I'm gonna wet my whistle. Bit of decaf coffee. Bit late to have a regular coffee. Hey Patrick. $3 in the afternoon. Cool. Yeah, it's the interesting thing about the US because, especially when I'm doing London Calling or a live, any live, I always in my mind I'm thinking of the US and I'm thinking 5 hours behind. But in reality, you're all over the place. I mean, probably the people that I most communicate with are 5 hours behind, but there are plenty who are many sort of diverse and varied time zones you have in the States. And of course, you have the odd person from different parts of the world, from Europe and from Antipodeans from down under. Stephen Cathy. We like our brothers from down under. So let me just turn you guys around. Let me flip you around. I'm actually using a different tripod today. Excuse all the mess down there. The last year for daylight saving, well, there's been a lot of debate about it here in the UK. It's been in the news because the clock goes back tonight here in the UK. So in reality, it's going to be 11 p.m. now. Smarty Bob, Tony from Rhode Island. What do you guys think? You guys support the idea of daylight saving, changing the clocks? An interesting thing that happens as a result is for the Orthodox Jewish community is that on Saturday nights during the summer months it's a problem because it would mean that the Sabbath always finishes on sundown. During the summer, the latest time here, for instance, in London, is around 11:45 at night. So the Sabbath, and the same applies to fast days when you're fasting. So it's really late to be fasting until, almost 11 p.m. Up in Scotland, for instance, where the time is further along, Sabbath doesn't go out till 11:30 at night, which is really crazy late. But it would mean that here in London, the Sabbath wouldn't go out till around in the very sort of at the height of summer. You'd be talking about 20 to midnight. That's very late, very late indeed. So we shall see. And I think part of it is also to do with the agricultural industry as well. It would mean that they'd be out at night doing their work till late at night, harvesting and doing whatever it is they do in their fields. A lot of that time will be in the dark and in hours of darkness. I was listening to LBC not long ago. They were talking about that, And one lady called up and said, well, in this day and age, you know, of modern technology, they can put lights up. They've got lights on their tractors, and they can. It's true, but still, it's not a very nice thing to be working late at night while it's dark. Who wants to be out in a field, out in the middle of nowhere, with in the middle of darkness? Artificial lights or not, it's still not a particularly nice experience. I mean, what was the purpose for it back in the 50s? Why did it actually get brought in? I've got my little rosebud. Beautiful little pipe. This is the one that was kind of made after one of Bo Nord's pipes. I've got some Woolly Golden sliced in there, which I'm about to spark up. It's my second bowl this evening. I've actually smoked this pipe already this evening. I don't usually follow on one bowl after another in the same pipe, but I am tonight. To save electricity, so to give more, I see, daylight saving. That's why it's called that, right? I hear that. Well, I'll tell you something, in this day and age, it might be a good idea to postpone that if they are going to cancel it, because electricity is a very big bone of contention here in the UK. They're talking about possibilities of power cuts and things like that due to the shortage of energy. So even if they do it, I reckon in the EU they might postpone it. And that would be a fairly valid reason at the moment. Walker Briar? Is that an Ian Walker? Do you mean a Northern Briars? What will the cows do? That's funny. I think for the cows, the whole thing is moot. Oh, Curtis. Is that what he calls himself, Walker Briars? Wasn't he W something or other, something pipes? What does he have on his stamp? He has 3 initials in an oval. Zaming Kahuna Tampa, gifted to me by Mike at Briar Blues. I did actually buy this one from him. Thought this one was a little bit different and interesting, and he sent me the other one with it, which was very generous. Ciao Sandro, how you doing, amico mio? Good to hear from you, hope you're well. I haven't been able to join the Zoom recently because I do a little bit, but I've just been going through a really busy patch. And I've been doing quite a lot of photography, so in the evenings, so I haven't been able to join. And on Wednesday was my nephew's wedding, so I couldn't join on Wednesday. And I've just got back this evening from a photography job, and Sunday I'm busy again, so I'm not complaining. What I'm actually doing now is, with this sort of busy period, I'm trying to put aside some money so that I can actually close the workshop for a week or two and maybe build a workshop on that concrete slab and finally get to make myself a proper workshop. I'm kind of being a bit hesitant, kind of thinking, am I up for it? Am I up to it? Can I do it? I don't want to start it and then find that I can't finish it. What I need to do is get some advice from people who know how to build stuff. The physical side of it, I'm pretty sure that I can do, but it's just knowing what to do to ensure that it's watertight, that it's damp proofed, and that kind of thing. So the structure of it, I need to just get some guidance on that. So I've spoken to a couple of people. I'm hoping that I'll get a builder or two to come past, just to spend an hour with me and tell me what materials I need. So although I've got a concrete slab, I'm going to do a timber frame. I want to know what damp course to put down to make sure that I don't get dampness in there, insulation, roof materials, all of that kind of thing to give it longevity and insulation, especially in the winter. The summer as well, the more insulation you have, the cooler it'll stay in the summer as well. Walker Pipe Company, WPC, I thought so. Hey Daniel. Thankfully, yes, my mum is home and she was able to join us for my nephew's wedding, which was awesome. It's the first time that both my parents have been at a family do, both in wheelchairs, which was not a nice thing to see, but at least they were with us for the event, which was really nice. We didn't expect that my mother would be. We really thought she wouldn't be strong enough. Hi Daniel. Hey Philip, how you doing? Oh, very nice, Patrick, very nice. I got a contact through my website just this evening, actually, on my way home from the other job. A guy in Australia, he had a pipe, and he asked me if it was mine. He said it's got a hallmark on it, and it says LSC pipes from 1875. He asked me, is it one of mine? So I said, 1875? I don't think so. I've been making pipes for about 4 or 5 years. So he said, no, he didn't mean that. He just thought the hallmark says 1875, and he's just wondering whether it was one of mine. So he said he's going to send me a picture. He sent me several pictures, and it's one of those really old pipes, actually from 1875, with a silver cap and a silver sort of a band, you know, one of these really ornate silver bands on the shank with a real amber stem. So I sent him back. I said, no, that's not one of mine. It's LSC, not LCS, and it's probably worth a bit of money. He wanted to send it over to me. So I said to him, hold on to it or sell it. It's probably worth some money. So I saw your picture a little bit earlier on, Philip, with all the lines marked out for your panel pipe. I must admit that when I've done panelled pipes before, I don't do them as scientifically as you do. But I mean, you do everything like that, but I don't. I still drew it all out, but I didn't do it. You look like you did it with a protractor or something like that. Daniel, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of pokers either. But if you want to gift it to somebody, Well, I suppose it's up to you if you want to gift it to somebody else. But what I would say is this, Daniel, especially if it's got a wide enough shank to convert to 9mm, maybe I will. I mean, I'm not looking to acquire pipes right now, but it's very generous of you. I don't want to turn down. I don't want you to feel that I'm turning you down. If you want to email me some pictures of it, so at least I know what we're talking about, because if it's not something that I'll smoke, I don't really want to take it off you. I'd much rather you keep it, sell it, or give it to somebody else that will use it. As I say, it depends on the shape of the poker. But thank you very, very much, Daniel. I really appreciate that. That's very generous of you. Yeah, 100%, Steve, if that's you. Wood lumber is really expensive these days, really, really expensive. That's kind of, I wouldn't say my biggest worry, but I've got... No worries, Daniel. What I might do is actually do a video about this, because there's so many of you guys out there who are experienced at building stuff. I don't have a construction history at all. I've always been okay with my hands, doing some decoration, doing some minor repairs, doing a bit of electrical work, a bit of plumbing work. It's just stuff around the house. I'm okay with that. But actually from the ground up, building stuff and making sure that you cross all the T's and dot all the I's, it's just about knowledge. It's about actually knowing what you need to have to make sure that, you know, if I'm putting a timber frame on a concrete slab, I need to put a damp course between it to make sure that the timber doesn't get damp. That kind of thing. And I've got an interesting situation where I'm going to be constructing it between two garage walls. So on the one hand, that's an advantage because I'm getting some insulation from the fact that I've got a wall each side. So the whole length of the workshop will have walls on either side, and it's just the two end walls which I'll need to insulate properly myself. I'll still insulate long walls, but I think there's a certain advantage, security to having that additional, you know, those walls on either side. Maybe I should do a video on that and get some... I'm sure there's loads of you guys out there who could give me advice on that. Hey Elvin, how you doing? I'm currently smoking my Rosebud. And I'm smoking some Oleg Golden Sliced. Hey Gary. Oh, thanks, Jack. Skill builder. Okay. Let me take a picture of that. I like that natural rusticated billiard you put a post up today, I think it was. That looks nice. There's something to be said about natural rusticated pipes, the Ciroc style rustication. The only issue is that they can get a little bit grubby while you're handling them, so you got to really hold them with gloves while you're rusticating it and put it straight into a bag or something to stop it getting the oils from your hands on it. You want it to stay like a virgin, fresh, rough briar without any smoothness on it at all, no oiliness on it at all for your customer, so when they get it fresh. So you got to be careful with that, and with the last sort of pass of your rusticator, it's a good idea to wear gloves and then just drop it into a bag. Yeah. Anything with a rough texture, whether it be a rustication or a sandblast or anything like that, they do color very well. I think they color better than meerschaums, if you ask me. You know, if something is smoked regularly, that will go black almost in fairly short order. You look at people's bones pipes, Chris Morgan's bones. You know, people who smoke those on a regular basis, their pipes are black, virtually black. Yeah, I mean, the actual putting it all together is not such a difficulty for me. Thank you, Daniel. It's just knowing the technical side of things, what I need to have, which materials I need to use to get the best effect in terms of insulation, damp proofing, and stuff like that. And also the roof I need to work out as well, because I'm running between two walls. So the joints here, I need to work out how to do that best, because my wall on the side of the garage is not a problem. I can run a LED flashing across on that roof, put it on have a fall on the roof, and that's fine. The other side, I can't really run a flashing because it's not on my wall. So I have to think about how I'm going to do that. I might have to have an upstand on that side so that it runs off some kind of upstand. My dad's not been too bad. Not been too bad. Thank you for asking, Todd. Yeah, something along those lines, Philip. The flashing is the problem. I can't put a flashing. I mean, I could. I mean, that is the neighbor that ripped up my fence, and he's built a loft conversion on the top of his house and used my wall as one of his own walls without asking. I mean, whether I would have allowed him or not, I don't know, but he just went ahead and did it. And as I say, when he built his garage in the backyard, in his backyard, he literally just ripped out my concrete posts and ripped out my fence and just did what he liked. So if I wanted to, I guess I could do what I like, but I'm just not like that. Two wrongs don't make a right. Just because he's done it to me and I didn't like it, so why would I do the same thing? Thanks for the pictures, Daniel. To be honest with you, it looks a little bit bulky for me. It looks a bit too heavy for me. Is it 9mm? Insulation and vaporize. It's my garage is at the back of the garden. I'm not too worried about that kind of stuff. You know, I know that the neighbour's built his, and I think he's made his residential, and I've got a feeling he's going to have people move in there, which is not strictly legal. So I don't really have to worry about that, because they can't very well complain that I'm making noise or dust flying around, because people shouldn't be living there. But at the same time, I'm not looking to aggravate people or anything like that. So I'll do it in the best possible way that I can. It's very generous of you, Daniel, but I would say maybe send it to somebody nearer to home. I'm sure you've got some other Canadian brothers of the Leaf that you could send it to. It'll cost you a fair bit of money to send it here, and to be honest, I'm not likely to smoke it. It's not a 9mm, so, and I don't like converting pipes unless I absolutely have to, or if it's a pipe that I really love. And as it's a poker, I won't really love it, to be honest. .62 is not really that heavy, but it just depends on the shape of the pipe, Patrick. On a straight poker, it is heavy because it's straight and all the weight is on the ball. So it's going to be pulling on your jaw. You have a where are we? Just for an example, you have a pipe like that, and if that's 62 grams, no problem at all. If it's got a decent bend on it and the bit's comfortable, 62 grams wouldn't be an issue. It really depends on the pipe. How much does this one weigh? I don't think this weighs that much. Ooh, wow, I can't believe it. This one is 72 grams. I would never have believed it. I did not remember it was that kind of weight. I put that in my mouth, I can hardly feel it. So it depends on the shape and the balance of the pipe. You know, sometimes when you've got a heavy pipe and you put even more weight on the stem, it can actually help balance the pipe out. It has to really get the center of gravity closer to you. If you imagine this, let's see. So this one here, I can already feel that extra weight. With that, that's a thinner, smaller stem, so the weight's all at the back. So even though by adding this one, which is a heavier stem, but because I'm bringing some of the balance of the weight onto the stem, it kind of makes the balance of the pipe better, and it actually feels lighter, which is a bit of a sort of a contradiction in logic in a way, but to me anyway. I mean, some other pipe experts might say that I'm talking bunkum, but to my experience, it feels easier. Let's put it that way. If you've sometimes got a heavier pipe and you add a little bit of weight to the stem, so you're almost spreading where the weight is pulling on you. Yeah, exactly, Philip. So yeah, hanging certainly feels better than all that weight being held just by clenching your teeth. When it hangs down, some of that weight is just distributed downwards, and it kind of just hangs naturally. Yeah, Vox. Well, the neighbours have never actually complained about anything I've done. Well, they haven't really had anything to complain about. It's just that if I do build the workshop right next to his garage, and he moves some, at the moment it's empty, his garage. He's a bit of a, I wouldn't say shady, but whatever. He kind of started building that and stopped in middle, and it's been half derelict for probably 3 or 4 years. It's that kind of guy. and to my mind, he's probably waiting for the statutory time to elapse so that planning authorities can't make him take it down. Because what he's actually done is he had a garage there many years ago. We're talking maybe 25 years ago, which he took down and never replaced. And his garage was on sort of one corner of his garden. And what he's done now is he's replaced it, but made it almost 3 or 4 times the size, and taking over half of his garden. Strictly speaking, I don't think he's allowed to do that. But even if he is, he hasn't got planning for it. And he certainly, I don't think, was allowed to just rip up my fence and do what he likes. If you had 2 pipes, Daniel, both weighing 50 grams, the bent pipe will feel easier to clench than the straight pipe. But I think it's going to be more noticeable with heavier pipes. So if you had 2 pipes, say the one like yours, which weighs 70 odd grams, one straight and one bent, then the bent pipe will definitely feel easier to clench. It won't be lighter, because weight is weight. So if it's 70 grams, then it's 70 grams, but it will feel lighter. It'll be easier to clench, less pressure on your jaw. Oh, Phil, nice. Just looking at Phil's pictures that he sent me. That's come along since the first picture I saw. That is very nice. I don't know how you drew those lines, but beautiful. It certainly helps guide you in terms of sanding down that shape, yeah. Very nice, Phil. Yeah, well, that's it. It's all about the junction, isn't it? I'm not so worried about codes. It's not something I need to get planning permission on or anything like that. It's more about making sure that it's damp proof and insulated and a solid structure. The actual sort of code stuff in terms of the grade of some of the materials that I'd be using, that I can sort out here. But in principle, for instance, I know that in the past when I've built stuff on the ground floor, I've got a little sort of addition to the house, and I built that together with a guy years ago. So when we connected where it connected to the ground, we used this sort of damp coarse tape, like a plastic roll, which was about that wide, and the timber sat on that, and that was between that and a small upstanding brick wall, which was about 3 or 4 bricks, 3 or 4 brick courses high. It's that kind of idea. Which one I'll buy is I can sort that out. It's just knowing in principle what I need. So damp course here, insulation, foam, I don't know, sort of a foil-backed board for the insulation, that kind of stuff. It's stuff which I've come across, but it would be helpful just to know a list of things that I need to do and where to put them. All right, cool. Oval shaped shanks. I've done plenty of oval shaped shanks. Loads. There's one here, right? I did one quite recently. That's an oval Canadian, short Canadian that I did recently, which I kept for myself. That's with the Flame Eldritch. I'm actually in the process of making another pipe with that stem material, a bent egg, which I may or may not rusticate. I might do a carved blast depending on how the grain comes out. The grain, I'm not expecting the grain to be great, so chances are it will be carved blasted, but you know, sometimes you can't predict exactly what the grain's going to do. You can get a good idea, but sometimes the block defies you. So based on what I can see on the outside of the block, it's probably going to be fine to rusticate, but we'll see. Yeah, Phil, that would be cool. This is 658, which I just recently did. This is a variation on my 626, which is pipe that I smoke. This one was a taller block, so because I wanted to keep the plateau, so it's a much taller, this section here is taller. And the pipe overall is larger. It's got a beautiful stem, stunning stem, and that one is going to be going off to the States, I believe. That was a commission. But I've had quite a lot of interest now of this shape since I started smoking this one. I've had quite a lot of interest. I've had another 2 inquiries about this shape. So, but I will say that it's really quite a challenging shape to make. I do find it quite challenging because the shaping is really done by hand. I mean, you can do a rough outline on the lathe up until there, obviously, to where the stem is, the shank is. So you're really only doing one sort of little curve there, but this and here as well is very, very challenging. And getting it to look balanced, it is a challenge. It feels very good in the hand, yeah. You did use butt twice. You're all butt. Similar product, but probably different terminology. But he could give the ideas, stroke options. Your comma is in the wrong place. That's my biggest problem. You negated your negation, exactly. Two negatives make a positive, don't they? And but is a negative, so usually it's an exception. Yeah, I'm talking about the first but. The first but should have, the comma should have been before it. Similar products, comma, but probably different terminology. Pretty much. One of the most famous applications of that is, I'm not a racist, but, which, as you say, completely cancels everything you've just said. $5.90. 590, that's a long way off. I hear that on radio shows all the time. I'm not a racist, but and then they go to proceed to be racist. $590. Yeah, well, wondering, have a look. For me, one of the best ones that I've done in recent times is pipe 656, which is 2 or 3 pipes ago, which was a Carve Blast. I think that one was, it was superior. In terms of sandblasting, carve blasting. See if I can find you a good picture of it. Now, to me, this one is probably my best Carve Blast, I think, that I've ever done. That pipe sold as soon as I uploaded it. No, wire wheel would not do that. It might add to that. You could wire wheel that after that's been done, but that wouldn't give you that kind of rustic. No way. Sandblasting, yeah, that's the idea. Alright, Jack, have a good one. I think that sandblast is the closest. That's a Carve Blast. That's the closest I think ever gotten to a realistic looking sandblast. Yeah. That was the idea, to look like a ring grain. I mean, I do them all like that. This one I actually did one extra step, which gave it a little bit more of a realistic sort of rough texture. But other than that, that's how I do my Carve Blast. But this one just really, the planets aligned. It just worked out well. You know, when you sort of, you do see some people doing a Carve Blast idea and they do the rings, but they do them too perfectly, and they're just, then it looks like a rustication. It's a carved pipe. But this one, because of the wavy lines, and you follow them from ring to ring, so it really looks like you're following a grain, a ring grain. It just gives it an extra dimension, I think. See if I can show you the pictures of that pipe that the gentleman sent me from. That's from, I guess, from 1875, with the real silver adornments there, and you can see there, that's going to be an original amber stem, and it all looks to be in great condition. I mean, even the gilt stamping on the inside of the vintage box is very, very crisp. Which is amazing considering it's like 100 if 1875 is the date, which is very possible. It looks like it could be. It's 150 years old. I don't know. I don't know what the box is made of. It's just the guy who's contacted me from Australia, and he was offering to send it to me, but I thought that he didn't really know the value, so I told him. He thought it was one of mine because it's LSC, not LCS, and he thought the 1875 was just a model number or something like that. And I said to him, no, that's a very old pipe and worth money. And I told him 1875 probably is the age. I didn't make the olive wood pipe. No, the olive wood block is still sitting on my workbench. Funnily enough, one of my kids asked me about that today around the lunch table, I think it was, and asked whether I've made an olive wood pipe. I said no. I said somebody did inquire about an olive wood pipe. I ordered a couple of blocks, but so far I haven't made any. I'll get one done one day. Well, at that time, you know, in the 1800s, anything that they would have used would have been a natural product, so an organic product. No plastics or anything like that. Has anybody seen a book called An Everson Product? I was reading through some old the NAPS, is it the NAPS it's called, North American Pipe something or other Society. I was reading through some old versions of that, and somebody talked about a book called An Everson Product, and that's another book I'd like to try and get. I mean, the stuff that they use nowadays for the vintage boxes must be really easy to make, because, I mean, they make them by the hundreds of thousands for meerschaum pipes. I don't know what those are made of, but people seem to be able to make those pretty easily and cheaply, obviously, as well. Jose's got 2 books. Which 2 books? Yeah, I've got the Castello book. I'll be honest with you, and I really don't want to be um, put a downer, but I wasn't that impressed with the book, to be honest. I wasn't impressed, number one, with the quality of the translation, which I think is kind of quaint. You know, it's kind of charming. You know, the way that it's translated from Italian, I could live with that, but there just wasn't enough there for me. Certainly not enough in terms of pictures. I'd like to have seen more pictures of the workshop, of their process, a little bit more nitty-gritty stuff. It was very romantically written, the book, which is nice. It's a nice book. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sort of slating the book, but you're paying 50, 60 pounds for a book. For me, it was just a romantic, charming story written by, is it Carlo Scotti? Is it the current owner of Castello Pipes? It's not, for instance, like the Peterson book. The Peterson book gets into the nitty-gritty of the company, and it goes back in the history of the company, and it goes in an order. It's structured, it's well researched, and put together in a very, very professional way. Whereas this book is almost like a personal diary. Maybe that's what it sets out to be, and in which case I've got no complaints. But as a Bible, as a pipe Bible for Castello, it's not. It basically goes through some of the momentous kind of events in terms of the limited edition pipes or the special edition pipes, and why they came about and how they came about. That is nice information. I mean, there is a lot of information in there, but it's really not a technical pipe book. It's like I say, it's a romantic diary. It's a romantic introspection from a guy who was personally involved in the company, and he talks about it through rose-tinted glasses in a romantic, poetic kind of way. That's how I see it. But it doesn't compare to other books like the Peterson book, or even the big pipe, the Pipe book, which was issued by about Danish pipe makers mostly. Scandinavian pipe makers. I mean, even if Jan Anderson books that he does, or that he did the Scandinavian book, that is also a person's own kind of journey to visit lots of different Scandinavian pipe makers, but it's completely covered with pictures of their pipes, of their workshops, and there's a huge amount of detail which he somehow manages to put in a very, very conversational style way of writing, and it's very easy to read, and it's just an enjoyable book. Somehow I didn't find that with it may be that something was lost in translation with the Castello book. That's possible. Yeah, but when you're paying a lot of money for a book, you really want it to be. Have I seen the recent short on? No, I haven't seen that. Yes, please do, Phil. Would I do an LCS version of a Castello pipe? I have done, for instance, the Shape 55. I've done that. That's really the only pipe that I've done. The rest of Castello's pipes, for me, are classic shapes, just done the Castello way. The only one that sticks out as being different is the Shape 55, which quite possibly is originally a Radice shape. I think I've heard Mike say that before, Bry Blues. I think if you look at a Castello bent billiard or an apple, they're unmistakably Castello, but they are a bent apple or a bent billiard. They're just Castello's way of doing it, I guess. And they're unmistakably Castello for sure, whether it's the stonework or the bollwork or the staining. Has a lot to do with it as well. I think the colouring that they stain their pipes is very obvious, and sometimes it's really hard to pin down what makes a Castello look like a Castello. Forget about the C-Rock and all that kind of stuff, just the smooth pipes. It's the dimensions, but unless you study it and you measure the pipes in all aspects of the pipe, it's really hard to pin down. When it came to the Shape 55, that chin is obvious, but actually Mike pointed out to me, because I once did a Shape 55 styled pipe, and he pointed out to me all the differences between mine and the Castello Shape 55, and it really opened my eyes as to the differences. So when you're doing a Castello type of billiard, let's say, you've really got to understand the dimensions and the proportions. It's all in the proportions when it comes to Castello. Some of their shaping is interesting because they kind of depart from the classic shape in a certain way, and the proportions are different. So for instance, the bulls might be more bulbous, but then suddenly the shank and stem get very thin, and that kind of makes it really interesting. For me, I don't know what the balance of those pipes are like. I mean, I've only got one Castello. I mean, it took me a long time to actually get a Castello, but when I did, this is the only one I have. I'm not sure what shape this is. Mike did tell me at one stage, I think. But anyway, it's a bent apple, but this one is quite chunky. And this, I've done my own version of this, which is, it's basically a heavily rusticated bent apple. This one, you know, I don't see this as being an exceptional example of a Castello pipe, although it's obviously a Castello. But it's not too hard to mimic this one. But some of the other ones, until you actually make it, and you make a pipe and you think, I'm going to try and make that, you make your own version of it, and it doesn't look like a Castello, it looks like something else, because the proportions in different parts of the pipe are really, really important. You know, this over here, where it gets wider and wider and wider, in this particular pipe, the bend, although this is my stem, I actually mimicked the bend on the stem of the original pipe, because it wasn't 9mm, and I've converted this to 9mm. In actual fact, the mortise was precise. I did nothing to the mortise. I don't think I put a drill bit in there. So I was able to literally just swap it out, and there's a very slight difference between the thickness there, you could see, but it's completely central, and I didn't feel the need to line it up, and I could always put the original stem back on if I want to. The chin is the shape 55. If you have a look up Castello shape 55, you'll see what I mean. I'll give you an example of the differences between. See, this pipe was my take on a Bonord pot. You look at this pipe and you look at Bonord's pipe, and they do not look the same, and you would never suspect that this was a take on a Bonord pipe. But I tried to keep some of I had to make this one more shapely because of the briar. If I would have kept it more straight, it might have looked a little bit more similar. Also, the Bonord pipe had a smooth rim, not a plateau. Again, I had to keep this plateau, otherwise the pipe would have been too short. You can see this is the lowest spot, so I would have had to have made the rim down, sanded it right down to the lowest spot, and that would have meant a very short pipe. It wouldn't have looked right. It would have looked like a piece of junk. So I kept it, and that has actually been also ordered now by other customers. They like the look of that. But for me, this here, you can see a very, very slight curve here, with a very small lip here as well. These are all cues that I took from the Bonord pipe. And also this bit here, key is the fact that this curves back up, and then you get this bulge, so that you get this continuous sort of bowl shape all the way around. And I think that's key to the shape. I think his stem was a little bit longer. And again, as I say, the sides were straighter. So this, as I say, is a take on it. It's not an identical replica or anything like that. Oftentimes I'll do pipes which are inspired by other pipe makers, but I'll always be careful to say it's a take on. It's a nod to a pipe by this and this person. I'm very careful always to credit my inspirations. I've had accusations in the past by other pipe makers that I plagiarize from other pipe makers. The truth of the matter is, we all take inspiration from other pipe makers. It goes without saying, there's very, very few pipe makers who actually get to make a new shape. It's virtually impossible. So we all take our cues from other people, and when I do, I always make a point of saying that this is a nod to this pipe maker or that pipe maker. I went through a period of doing lots of Tau pipe shapes, Tau style sort of stubby billiards and apples and volcanoes and that kind of thing, and I was always careful to credit them. Interpretation, thank you, Phil, that's the word we're looking for. You do get sometimes, Daniel, where people will say an author, and actually what you're looking at is a squat tomato or just a short, stubby apple, a really wide apple. But they do sort of, the lines do start to blur sometimes. You know, you can have an author which is looking very much like a bent apple, but a very squat bent apple. But again, there'll be very, very small but subtle differences which make it an author, whether it be the thicker shank or the way the bowl transitions from the bottom of the bowl through to the shank and stuff like that. With the shape 55, you know, you've got that chin and all of that, but it's actually this bit here which Mike pointed out to me, which is this line here is completely straight, whereas it's tapered on the underside only. And I didn't realize that until Mike pointed that out to me. So when I did it again, I did it using all the cues that Mike pointed out to me, and it was a more faithful shape 55. I wasn't worried that it wasn't a faithful shape 55 because it's just an interpretation. I wasn't looking to make a replica, but I did want it to look like it. In other words, so people would instantly say that pipe has a chin, because it's the chin that really stands out more than anything else. Yeah. Oh, right. No, I haven't seen this video, Phil. I've seen a video of the Dunhill factory, which is very interesting, but I haven't seen this video, so I'm looking forward to... Oh, it's on Giri's channel. Nice one. Thanks, Giri. I will watch that. I really ought to try and get access to the Dunhill factory. I don't know if they'll allow it. I know Sam Brammer of GQ Tobaccos, he's been around there and took some pictures there at one point. But I'd really love to be able to do a video there. Maybe what I'll do is I'll ask Sam to introduce me. Might try that. How it's not by every company will have their own way of identifying the pipes, but it's usually factory pipes that will have that, because they're doing them in such great numbers, so they'll need to know which pipe they're about to do, whereas an artisan pipe maker is not likely to have numbered pipe styles. They'll have an author, they will have a billiard, they'll have their style of all of those shapes, but they're unlikely, most will not. You know, occasionally you'll do that. So for instance, I've called this a 626 only because this was pipe 626 and so many people have referred to it, so I've called it a 626 now. So that shape for me is going to be an LCS shape 626, but I don't have shape numbers as such. It was only because it just worked out easier on this pipe, and it's because it's a particular shape. It's not a shape, it's not a billiard, it's not a volcano, it's kind of a hybrid kind of shape, so it needed something for me, a way of describing it. So this one as well is not a regular shape, so I've called it rosebud because I think that's what it looks like. It looks like a rosebud. This one was just simpler for me to say 626. But if you look at the Dunhill shape charts, they'll have numbers for all of their shapes, and the numbers will often will have other things attached to it. So you might have a Savinelli, they have numbers on their pipes. Peterson have numbers on their pipes. So yeah, the numbers don't usually relate to the core number doesn't usually relate to the grain or anything like that, but they might have suffixes or prefixes on the main core number which will tell you whether it's a smooth or a rusticated or that kind of thing. I haven't actually smoked this pipe in a long time. I should leave it out and give it a go. I've been kind of really contracting my pipe collection. I should really soon do a new video of my pipe collection. I've sold most of my non-LCS pipes, and the ones that I've got left are really just a few that I really do smoke. I'm probably going to do another sale soon because there's still a few more that I need to pass on. Ones which I hadn't really considered selling for, they just become, I wouldn't say sentimental, but they're just pipes that I'm attached to. A good example, for instance, is this Savinelli. It's a gorgeous sandblasted, amazing ring grain on it. I hardly ever smoke it, but I feel like I might regret it if I sell it because it's got such a gorgeous ring grain on it. It's an autograph, Savinelli autograph. I've got a couple of what's his name, Tom Phillips, a couple of his pipes, which are fantastic pipes, but I just don't smoke them. But he's not making any pipes. He stopped making them a few years ago. I've got a couple of his pipes, and I just feel that if I sold it, I regret it. So far I've held on to it. I've held on to my Boswell pipes, the ones that I've got left. This Escorti I've kind of thought about selling. I've had a lot of interest, people asking me about it, but I've never actually yet put it up for sale. It's a gorgeous pipe, smokes very well. I'm for the most part smoking my own pipes, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part. Are you serious? Tom Phillips started making again? Oh wow. That's good to know. I did not know that Tom had restarted. I haven't seen any. Where is he selling the pipes? At the moment I'm only seeing posts from 2018 on Facebook. Hey Jay Babio, how you doing? What's my take on the super limited edition tobaccos like some of the recent C&D blends? Is overall good? Right, I'll have to have a look and see what he's got there. Overall good, or just a thing that's happening. I'm not a C&D Cornell and Diehl expert. I've tried a few of their blends. Some of them I've liked, some of them I haven't. For the most part, I've not, put it this way, I've not smoked any of their tobaccos and thought to myself, I must get some more. But it's just a personal thing, you know. I do, again, not trying to be cynical or anything like that. You know, good luck to them. Their marketing is great. and I've got no complaints about that. I do marketing myself on my channel, and some people get fed up with it, and some people are okay with it. So I'm certainly not going to criticize somebody else's marketing sort of strategies, but good luck to them. It's working for them. They're selling out the small batches. Whether they're great tobaccos or not is a matter of personal taste. They don't really. I don't really rate them myself, but like I say, they're really good at marketing, and they come up with tobaccos which they say are 18, 20 years old and stuff like that, which people automatically jump on, and that's great. I'm not doubting their veracity of their statements, but it's just the way they market it, which is very, very engaging, and it kind of it feeds the frenzy, if you like, and that's great. Good luck to them. I'm pleased that they're able to make a go of it. I actually think that any tobacco business that is able to generate business, good luck to them, because it's such a tough world to be in the tobacco business at the moment. So if they're trying anything and everything to stay alive, to survive, I think that's great. I'm not a fan, but I think it's great that they're able to do stuff to generate business. I can't criticize them for that. And ultimately, that's good, all for the good, because it means that the pipe tobacco industry is able to survive. I mean, you look at McClelland's, you look at the various iterations that Dunhill has been through in the past decade. That gives you an indication of how difficult it is, whether it be through not enough business or whether it be through the FDA and the various crippling regulations that they all have to, the hoops that they have to jump through. If they can find a way to survive, I've got no criticism with that. Yeah, I'm the same, Geary. I much prefer European tobaccos to American tobaccos. No disrespect to our American brethren, but I just prefer them. They just seem to be, the flakes especially, just seem to be of a superior quality. It's just my personal experience. I feel, I don't know, but I feel that the European flakes, I'm assuming that most of this stuff comes from America in terms of sourcing the raw material, but in terms of how they're processed, how they're manufactured, I get the feeling that European tobaccos are purer. Yeah, but I don't quite understand that, Phil, because all these small batches, how do they get around the FDA? These are all new tobaccos. If they're new tobaccos, why don't they have to go through? Okay, the whole FDA deeming blah blah has been put on hold anyway, hasn't it? But say it was to come in and it was to be in action, it would be active now, all those regulations. If it would be something that they had to comply with, all these small batches would be difficult, wouldn't they? Vanilla custard. There's quite a few people who absolutely love that tobacco by Sutliff. I think the professor, he likes that. I haven't seen him in a long, long time. Professor, the one who did the Pith Helmet series. But I personally say, if to my palate, you can't compare it to vanilla roll cake. Vanilla roll cake, to my palate, is 100 times superior. Okay, if that's right chip, then that would make sense. If they're doing small batches for that reason. Okay, yeah, all right. If that's correct, Patrick, then yeah, that makes sense. So again, I commend them for their tactics. You're right. They're only on sale for about 20 minutes is exaggeration, more like 20 seconds. Professor Jeremiah, yes, thank you, Todd. I miss his channel. Really, the production value of his videos was through the roof. Stevie, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Glen as in pipe nutter Glen? Piper wondering, it took me a while to get into Drop Bear. Yeah, he used to be called pipe nutter, used to be known as. It took me a while to get into Latakia as well, but once I was in, Lady Latakia had me in her grip. But I don't smoke it that much anymore. I used to smoke it a lot. It used to be my primary tobacco. But nowadays it's Virginia. Larison Pipes has been selling off his tobaccos. He had a big seller of tobaccos. And he's basically going through his house and stuff and finding a little stash here, a little stash there. He also had a lot of tobaccos on consignment, which he was selling off. And I recently bought some McClellan's, was it called Wandering or something like that? Anyway, it's Syrian Latakia. I bought a few tins of that. I've still got a few vintage Syrian. I've got, I think, 300-gram tins of McBaron's vintage Syrian. A limited run or a limited edition is limited for whatever reason. The reason could be that they've got a batch of tobacco, and once that batch is finished, that's the end of that run. Limited could be for any reason. It's just limited. In other words, it's not a regular line which is ongoing. It's limited, so they might only make 5,000 tins or 10,000 tins, and then once that's done, it's done. But if you have a look at the history of the last 5 years, for instance, some of them are perennial. You know, they come back each year. So the red Virginias, for instance, those have been, I think, is it the third one already that we've had of those? Yeah, I've got a couple of tins of that as well. That was actually probably The Brebbia Syrian, I actually don't know how to tell the difference between the Syrian and the Cyprian. I know I've got a Syrian one because Brebbia was actually the last brand really that you could get, because it was kind of under the radar, the Brebbia number 9. So lots of people had it in stock still, and Brebbia was a Syrian Latakia, the number 9, and you could still buy that when vintage Syrian went out of stock everywhere. You know, the McBaren vintage Syrian, when that went out of stock, Brebbia number 9 was kind of under the radar, and people who were in the know were buying it up. I just kind of stopped getting a broad range of tobaccos because I've got my sort of bread and butter Latakia, which is Northwood's Special Latakia Flake, 1820 Flake, that kind of stuff, and I don't really need much else. So I haven't really chased it, but I did get a tin or two of the Brebbia, but then they changed it over to Cyprian, and it's exactly the same tin. It's still called number 9, but I just don't quite know how to tell the difference. I've got a feeling that one of them is Syrian and one of them is Cyprian, but I don't know. I don't mean when I taste it, I mean in the sealed tin. Tasting it, maybe I would tell the difference, but in a sealed tin, which looks exactly the same, maybe there's a barcode or something on there. That could be Geary as well, yeah. Maybe people hadn't changed their labels, it's possible. Yeah, I would say that's a good description, Phil. Syrian being more lighter, a little bit of floral, sweet, musty kind of flavour, smoother, and Cyprian is a little bit more campfirey, yeah. I'm not an expert on that, Daniel, on Orientals or Kentuckys. I smoke plenty of tobacco with Oriental in it, but I don't know if I could say that I'm an expert on Orientals. I'm not an expert on any tobaccos, but I can't say that I've got any extensive experience with Orientals, and certainly not with Kentucky. I've been trying to upload a video which I recorded on Friday morning. It's a video for beginners, pipe smoking for beginners, and it's literally taken, I've been uploading it now for about 4 hours and it still hasn't uploaded. I don't know why. It's about a 40-minute video just going through the basics. A couple of people have been asking for it, but one person in particular who's a new pipe smoker, about 3 months or so here in the UK, and he's been struggling big time with his pipe smoking and getting very frustrated. I told him I would do a video for him, and that's what that video is for, but it's taken a long time. Alright folks, this is the time where if you've got any other questions, please ask them, otherwise I'm going to wrap things up. It's been a very interesting chat tonight, thank you very much for that, really enjoyed it. I'll start doing my thank yous, but if you've got any questions at all on any topic, not just pipes, feel free to ask. So in the meantime, I'm going to say some thank yous. Thank you Geary, thank you Phil, thank you Daniel, thank you Pipe Wondering, thank you Stevie, Patrick, Chip, Little Piper Todd, Piper said, and everybody else. It's my pleasure, Phil. I hope you actually smoke that pipe. You had a pipe in the past with 2 holes in the mouthpiece, dual bore. Would you ever consider doing a stem like that? Well, I guess so, but I just don't know how much of an advantage it is. I know that there was a Medici did that, you know, supposedly to ease tongue bite and stuff like that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I just don't feel the need to do it. It's just another complication. There's enough to be getting on with without doing a dual bore. If it's just something that you want to challenge yourself with, then yeah, fine. Let me know your thoughts on the pipe, Phil. I'd be interested to know from a seasoned pipe maker and smoker. All right, folks, thank you very much indeed. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and I will catch you on the next one.